Civilian Response to Active Shooter Online Training, presented by Tufts University, Department of Public and Environmental Safety. In this training program, we'll start with an understanding of active threats and how people react to crises. Next, we'll talk about how you should respond during an active threat incident. Lastly, we'll also discuss how the university responds to active threats and other significant emergencies. Amanda Ripley wrote the 2008 book, The Unthinkable: Who Survives When Disaster Strikes and Why. Ripley did research examining who survives and who dies during disasters. She identified a three-phase process that everyone goes through during these incidents. People who survive go through the process faster and take better actions at the decisive moment because they have prepared beforehand. A shorter article adapted from the book is available online in the Tufts University libraries. Many people do not admit that there is a disaster, or they underestimate the severity of the disaster. People delay taking action, and this delay costs lives. In the World Trade Center, people called others to check with them, logged off their computers, and packed up their things before beginning to evacuate. So why do people do it? Normalcy bias. The brain wants things to fit into existing plans. It tries to define a disaster as something else that we are already familiar with. For example, in active shooter attacks, many people describe hearing the shots, but attribute it to fireworks. Ripley found that it is more common to deny that the disaster is happening at all, which is contrary to the common perception of people panicking and stampeding during a disaster. Social proof. We are social animals. We look to each other for clues about how to behave. This is especially the case when a situation is new or ambiguous. Consider any time you might have been at a large formal dinner party. There are many different plates, glasses, and silverware for each person. If you are unsure about which utensil to use, a very easy way to determine the appropriate response is to watch others around you to see what they are using, and then do the same. This is important because a few people doing the right things can save many. These are natural tendencies of all humans, but the good news is that now that you know, you can overcome these tendencies and act faster. If you hear gunshots, recognize the sound right away for what it is and go straight to deliberation, the next phase. Ripley identified that once people get past denial, they enter the deliberation phase. They understand something bad is happening, and now they must decide what to do. This is a problem because their brain is not functioning well because the effect stress has on the mind and body. No matter what, all people eventually are placed under enough stress that their human brain shuts down. One of the cool things about your brain is that you can use it to program it beforehand, when you are not under stress. Then, your brain does a better job performing when you are under stress. Scripting means thinking through if-then scenarios in your head so that you have a better plan ready. Practicing reinforces this plan. Think about what you do when the fire alarm sounds. It's a nearly automatic response because it's been rehearsed. When you have plans made ahead of time, it becomes easier to evaluate what you should do and then respond in an emergency. You have evaluated your plans, and now it is time to respond, the decisive moment. Choose an action and do it, because doing nothing leaves you in a dangerous situation. What you do matters. Remember social proof? In a group of people, when you commit to decisive action, others will follow you. Once a decision is made, it is time to act. So act with purpose. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Listen to this audio clip of the 2009 Miracle on the Hudson incident, when pilots successfully guided a passenger plane with no engine power onto the Hudson River. Notice the pilot's calm, focused voice. Some periods of silence are edited out to shorten the overall length.
Cactus 1539 hit birds to lost thrust on both engines returning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading up 220.
320.
Tower, stop your departures. Got emergency returning. It's 1529. He bird strike. He lost all engine. He lost the thrust in the engines. He's returning immediately.
Cactus 1529, which engines?
He lost thrust in both engines, he said.
Got it.
Cactus 1529. We can get it for you. Do you want to try to land runway 13?
We're unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
All right, Cactus 1549. It's going to be left traffic to runway 31.
Unable.
Okay, what do you need to land? Cactus 1549. Runway 4 is available if you want to make left traffic to runway 4.
Idiot. I'm not sure we make any runway. What's over to our right? Anything in New Jersey? Maybe Teterboro?
Okay, yeah, off your right side is Teterboro Airport. Do you want to try to go to Teterboro?
Yes.
Teterboro, Empire, actually LaGuardia departure guy, emergency inbound. Cactus 1529, turn right 280, you can land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the Hudson.
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus? Cactus 1549, radar contact is lost. You also got Newark Airport up at 2 o'clock in about 7 miles. Eagle 54718, turn left heading 210.
210, 4718. I think he said he was going in the Hudson.
The pilot recognized the situation, promptly made a decision, and acted. But there are two important details to recognize in his actions. The first is that he was decisive in announcing his intention to return to the airport, but that's not where he ended up. Even once he made a decision, he evaluated it, and realized he needed to make a new decision to land in the river. The second detail is about his training. You might say to yourself, he's a pilot and trains all the time for situations like this. It's only partly true. Pilots train on dual engine failure at much higher altitude. They train on single engine failure after takeoff, and they train on water landings. But the pilot did not train specifically for dual engine failure at low altitude followed by a water landing. The pilot drew on several pre-scripted plans and put them together in the moment to respond to a novel situation. This training program cannot possibly anticipate every situation you could find yourself in, so we're also going to discuss several response options that empower you to respond to unique circumstances. Before we talk about how to respond, let's get on the same page about active shooter. The official FBI definition of an active shooter is one or more people actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. And there are a bunch of caveats like not gang-related, not the byproduct of another crime. This definition is a useful tool for conducting statistical research, but today we're going to rely on a simpler definition. An active shooter is anyone engaged in attempted mass murder. The data we are going to discuss comes from the 2014 FBI report of active shooter incidents from 2000 to 2013, and includes a supplemental report with data from 2014. Many believe schools are the most frequently attacked locations. When combined, businesses and other commerce locations actually make up the majority of attack locations. The majority of active shooter attacks are very short. The incident will last hours while police process a scene and survivors are assisted, but the immediate life threat is much shorter. In the first 14-year study, just over 2/3 of incidents lasted 5 minutes or less before the assailant fled or was stopped. The short duration underscores the need for civilians to take action to protect themselves, since nationally it takes police an average of 3 minutes to respond to active shooter incidents. Now it's time to respond. If you see or hear an attack, there are 3 ways to respond: avoid, deny, and defend. Your first and best option is to avoid. Get away as quickly as possible. Have an escape route and plan in mind. Leave your belongings behind and evacuate regardless of whether others agree to follow. Help others to escape if possible. We'll never ask you to risk yourself helping others, which is why we say that you should not attempt to move the wounded. As you leave, warn others to prevent them from entering an area where the active shooter may be. Keep your hands visible as you get away. In some cases, you may not be able to get away. Now we want you to deny. Not deny that the incident is happening, but obstruct or deny the active shooter from accessing your area. Relocate to a more secure area if necessary. We want you to be invisible and silent. Lock the door or barricade the space with chairs, office equipment, whatever you can find. Close shades, turn off lights, and become completely silent. Be prepared to defend yourself if needed, which may mean it's better to be close to the door to act quickly. You may have heard something similar to avoid, deny, defend called run, hide, fight. We prefer to use the word deny versus hide. Hiding and hoping is not a recommended strategy because if you are found, you have no options. When you deny, you take active steps to secure your space and prepare to defend yourself. If all else fails, defend yourself. Fight as a last resort and only when your life is in imminent danger. Some people ask about negotiating, but fewer than 2% of active shooters in study data surrendered, so negotiating with the shooter is not a recommended tactic. If others are with you, work together as a group. In a classroom setting, the shooter may be significantly outnumbered. Convert fear into anger. Attempt to incapacitate the shooter. Stand near the door, not across the room. When the shooter enters your room, you want to act quickly, which isn't possible if you're across the room. Remember that your eyes are adjusted to the dark space and the shooter likely is not. Use all your advantages. Act with as much physical aggression as possible. Improvise weapons or throw items at the shooter. Consider what you can use: a textbook, a fire extinguisher. Commit to your actions. Your life depends on it. Remember, avoid, deny, defend. When the police arrive, they will seek out the shooter first. They will not stop to help you until they know that the shooter is no longer a threat. After that, they will help those who are wounded. And finally, they will conduct a room-to-room search and get people out of the building. Earlier, we said to show your hands when escaping. Police need to see that you are not a threat. They don't know who the active shooter is or how they're dressed, so they're looking at everyone to see if they have a weapon. Show your palms with fingers spread. Remember that the police are also experiencing the stress symptoms that we talked about before. They train for this, but make things easier for them. And follow their commands. It may not make sense to you at the time, but go with it. Now let's see these strategies in action in a short video that was produced cooperatively by 10 Boston area colleges and universities with the assistance of a script developed by Yale University. Watch how people avoid, deny, and defend, and use their plans to respond to active threats.
All right. This will only take a couple of minutes, but it's something you need to hear. I'm going to show you a few things and give you something to think about. So let's say you're sitting with a few people. You're texting, you're working, whatever you do. In this case, you're in the library. It's a normal day.
Emily said there's a weird guy at the center of campus.
Weird how? You're in your own world here.
He's wearing all black and carrying a bag. He's headed to the library.
Mira, no tengo. What should you do in that situation? Now, of course, I'm not saying this will happen. An active shooter situation or any act of violence like this is incredibly rare. But if it did happen, there are things you can do that will increase your chance of surviving. Something you can do right now is plan. It's always good to be aware of your surroundings. There's an entire building around you. You're in this space all the time, so have a plan. You probably know where the power outlets are to charge things, but do you know where all the exits are? Know where you can run. Know where you can hide. There are exits all over the place, and you wouldn't believe how many people get hurt or killed in a fire because everyone runs toward the door they came in. The adrenaline's going, and they run right by an emergency exit. So in this situation, there's a lot you could have done differently if you took a few seconds to plan. Take a look. There's the door you came in, but look around. There's a closer exit right behind you. If I were you, I'd take the headphones off or at least turn the music down.
Emily said there's a weird guy out in the street.
Weird how?
Like, muttering and carrying a big bag. He's headed this way. Let's go. Come on, this way!
That was too close for comfort. But in this situation, you had a plan and you evaluated your options and decided to run away. That's what we like to say. Plan, evaluate, respond. If you can run away, you do. But what if it isn't that clear? Let's say you're a small room or office. You have a plan already, in the sense that you know there's an exit down at the end of this hallway. It's time to evaluate and respond.
I saw a man with a gun.
Running away might not be your best option. You can also hide. Barricade yourself as best you can. Stay put until you get all clear on your phone, which should be made completely silent. It's not likely that a shooter will spend time trying to get into locked rooms. Try to be as invisible, quiet, and calm as possible. Take long, deep breaths and try to relax. Now, what if you're here and the guy with the gun is right here? Well, there's no trick. The only thing you can do is make yourself a difficult target. Fight back and swing hard. Distract him. Throw things. Be loud. Try to get away. Even in that situation, you have options. Let's go back outside. Get as far away from the affected area as possible. When you found safe cover, call campus police or 911. Give your location first, then your name, a description of the shooter, where he is, and is headed. If you're not in immediate danger, you'll hear about what's going on pretty quickly. The campus emergency alert will go out.
He emigrated to the
Whoa.
United States.
Confirmed report of gunshots in or near the library. Shelter in place. This is not a test.
Hey, no, get away from that window. Lock the door. We need to just sit and wait.
Shelter in place means just that. Stay calm, Lock the doors, stay away from windows. Find a safer room if you need to.
I mean, we're safe here, but the library's closed. This is freaky.
The campus emergency site is updated regularly and as new information is confirmed.
You folks get the alert?
Yeah.
Well, let's not panic. The library is on the other side of the courtyard, and the alert's to shelter in place, so let's just stay put here.
You might be outside when you get the shelter in place message. If you're outside, get away from the affected area. Find shelter indoors, go to your car, or get behind safe cover. Follow directions from law enforcement. Trust your judgment. Until they can give the all clear, police will sweep every room. So let's go back there.
Police, anyone in there? This is Officer Barnett with the police. We're performing a room-to-room search. If you want to confirm the search, you can call dispatch.
Yeah, there are two of us in here.
Do me a favor and put your hands up where I can see them. We're coming in. Hands up. One clear. Two clear. Anyone injured? All right, we're going to continue our search. Please stay here and lock the door behind me until the all clear. It shouldn't take too long, all right?
Yeah.
All right, ready. Room 121 clear, moving on.
If you're sheltering in place, lock and barricade all doors. When the police arrive to sweep the room, verify their identity, and remember to stay where you are until the all clear. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. When these things happen, it's pure chaos. The best advice I have is, have a plan. Then figure out your best option and do it. You got to be quick. Plan, evaluate, respond. That's it. Thank you. Stay safe.
Planning helps you to act faster in an emergency. Be aware of your surroundings. Know at least 2 ways out of your workspace or your residence hall. Outside of Tufts, do you know another way out of the grocery store, out of your local mall, or places like Fenway Park? In a crisis, people will tend to try to escape the same way they entered. Look for other ways out, and look for places where you can deny access. No matter what, eventually people get placed under enough stress that the higher brain shuts down and we have to rely on primitive instincts and rehearsed actions. That's why scripting and practice is important. Think about what you would do in different emergencies, then practice. The next time you leave your building, go out a different way. It's practice that could help you in an emergency. And in any emergency, first get to a safe place. And when you are in a safe place, call Tufts University Police at 617-627-6911 or extension 66911 from a campus phone. Make sure that number is programmed into your mobile phone. If you're off campus, dial 911. Tell the dispatcher your location. It's the most important piece of information. Then the number you're calling from, in case you get disconnected. And finally, the nature of the emergency. Safely notify others in the area. And remember, in an active shooter situation, avoid, deny, defend. Lastly, let's talk about how the university responds to active shooters and other significant emergencies. In a significant emergency or dangerous situation involving an immediate threat to the health or safety of the Tufts community, the university may use Tufts Alert to send a warning by text message, email, and voice telephone call. You must supply your contact information to Tufts Alert to be included, and everyone is reminded at the start of the fall and spring semesters to log in and make sure their contact information is complete and current. Text messaging is the fastest method to reach you, so we emphasize including your mobile phone in the system. Initial warning messages are pre-scripted and very brief. When you get an alert, follow the instructions and spread the word. Remember that alerts are for people who don't already know about the unfolding incident. If you're at the scene, if you see or hear an attack, do not wait for an alert message. Trust your instincts and rely on avoid, deny, defend to take action. Up until now, we've talked about how to respond to an incident once it happens, but we also want to prevent violence whenever possible. Tufts Threat Assessment and Management, or TTAM, exists to help recognize the clues that someone may be on a pathway to violence, and to assist them in order to prevent violence. If you have a concern about someone, let TTAM know. The team consists of representatives from offices such as Student Affairs, Human Resources, Health and Wellness, and Public Safety, who work together to recognize potential threats. But your participation is key. Visit ttam.tufts.edu for more information or to share a concern. We've discussed your preparedness to respond to an emergency. Elements of the university also prepare continuously. Tufts University Police Department personnel train regularly and are equipped to respond to active shooter and other emergencies on campus. They have strong relationships with the police departments in our host communities, who will be assisting us in any significant emergency. Tufts Police is also accredited by the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission, demonstrating their voluntary commitment to follow a body of professional practice standards. You can learn more at publicsafety.tufts.edu/police. The university's emergency management program is administered by the Office of Emergency Management within the Department of Public and Environmental Safety. Stakeholders within the university would respond to the Emergency Operations Center for coordination. The Crisis Communications Team from University Relations coordinates messaging to the university community and the news media. The Executive Policy Group includes key senior leaders who will make the high-level decisions necessitated by the unfolding emergency. Tufts University's Emergency Management Program is accredited by the Emergency Management Accreditation Program, or EMAP, demonstrating adherence to a national standard and making Tufts the first private institution of higher education to be accredited by EMAP. You can learn more at emergency.tufts.edu. That's it. Remember, avoid, deny, defend. For more information, you can always visit emergency.tufts.edu/active-shooter, where you can access the emergency response guide for active shooter and other emergencies, the active shooter video, and you can also request an in-person delivery of this training program for your department, student organization, or other group. After watching this presentation, please click on the participant survey below this video. Your feedback helps us to improve our training programs. Thank you.